Hey everybody, it is Doug. I am happy to be doing video number 2 on the White Speedy, this time showing the alternate Omega straps. On the first video I did an unboxing. Of course, it came on bracelet, so I was able to show you that. But I also had the Omega mesh bracelet, which I showed it to you, and the Omega NATOs. But this one's going to show both the leather and the rubber straps that Omega has for the White Speedy. So let's begin. Before we get started, here's Tamitha.
Hi, watch family.
I just noticed that both of us are wearing white dialed watches on leather. So I've got the White Speedy and she's wearing the Cartier Santos. But let's get back to the video. Let's look at the details of these two alternate straps that are available for the White Speedmaster. Let's look at this rubber strap in a little bit more detail, because that's really what Omega does. They have so many things that are just so detailed. A lot of times you may even miss it, but once you see it, you really appreciate it. One of the things for me is this layered lug. This line here follows into the strap, as you see coming on down. Absolutely love that. And this is actually like shinier than this is more matte right here. But like I said, it follows that line, which I really, really appreciate that they had done that. And then of course, another thing is whenever you flip it over with the rubber strap, if you'll notice, it actually has a pattern, almost like the relief of the surface of the moon. And once again, absolutely phenomenal detail. How totally, totally cool. And that this rubber strap makes this the Moonwatch. I mean, it's, like I said, it is just totally in keeping with the Moonwatch theme. And as you'll see with the leather strap, it creates a different type of theme for this watch. Let's look at the deployment when it's attached to the rubber strap. And of course, this would be identical to the leather strap, but you feed the tail, if you will, through. There's a little nibby there, that you put it through. And then, of course, this is branded with Omega, which you can see there. And literally, you just clasp it, and it is a double trigger deployment, so you have to unlatch it. Like I said, and let me just do this here so you can really see what she looks like coming through. There is an interesting thing that I've heard over and over again whenever it comes to the Omega mesh. And the biggest complaint, everyone's like, oh my gosh, I love that mesh, I love that mesh. But what I don't like is just how thick it is, right here whenever you close it. And the reality is, it is almost identical. In fact, it basically is identical to what this rubber strap or the leather strap would be. So it is no thicker than this or the leather. I don't know why people complain about it, because once it's on the wrist, you don't even feel or notice it. But once again, if you look at that, they are identical. So let's look at this on wrist. And of course, it just hugs the wrist so nicely. As I come on through and down, you'll see how that deployment clasp fits. And of course, you've got that branding. Love how they do almost like the layered lugs, on the actual deployment itself. But once again, looking down the wrist, super duper, just svelte. I mean, it just wraps around your wrist so nicely, and really complements the watch, in my opinion, very, very beautifully. That contrast between the black and that white dial is just spectacular. Right, now let's see her from afar. As you know, I like to shoot videos showing the watch with a little bit of distance between us as opposed to being right up close. I think it gives you a better feel for how the watch sits and looks on the wrist. My wrist, for reference, is 7.25 or 7.25 inches, and or 184 millimeters. But like I said, just from a bit of a distance, you can kind of see, and even from a distance, you can see how this baby pops. I mean, that white dial really looks great. And the contrast, of course, against this rubber strap looks phenomenal. But here she is on the wrist, looking absolutely amazing. So here is the rubber from a little bit of distance. As a just quick side note, I just don't want you guys to mess up your watches, so I highly recommend that you put some tape on the lugs before you change out straps. Last thing you want to do is scratch them up. We have our beautiful watches here, and especially with something like this, if you're changing out the straps often, a quick piece of tape, believe me, it is so worth taking the 2 minutes it takes to get some tape and type up your lugs, as opposed to having a lifetime of scratches on your special watch. All right, I've just now changed the strap, and if you look, well, first of all, that, every time I see that thing, holy cow, the inner workings of this watch is just absolutely stunning. And one reviewer I heard said it looks like a little city, and I have to agree. I wish I could give that person credit because it was a great quote, but that is just phenomenal. By far the best looking movement on any of my watches. But I digress. Let's go back to the strap itself. One of the neat things about it is on the underside, it has a red stitching. And of course, whenever you flip her over, it's contrasting white stitching. But let's look at this in a little more detail on the wrist. Before I put it on wrist, let's look at just how this connects. It is different. So obviously the rubber, well, I shouldn't say obviously, but if you noticed, it actually fills in this gap. It literally fills the entire lug space, whereas this one does not. This has a little bit more of a vintage look to it, which I personally prefer. And it's kind of like the mesh bracelet, that has more of a vintage look. And I like that it doesn't fill in that whole gap, or that whole space. So it's like this, it has that bar that just goes across, but I think this is absolutely in keeping with a leather strap. Okay, let's look at this on the wrist. Here we go. The deployment is the same. I only have one deployment, so it fits both the leather and the rubber strap. So if you're buying one or both of these, you just get one deployment, and then of course your strap, so it fits both of them. But here we are looking at this. It really is a sophisticated, stunning look in my opinion. And if you recall earlier, whenever I was saying, when we were looking at the rubber strap, that on the underside with that moon pattern or moon surface pattern on it, it made this watch the Moonwatch. This, with those rally holes and the contrasting stitching, makes this watch the Speedmaster, as it was originally intended, which was to track time and speed, primarily with auto racing. So like I said, this truly is in keeping with the origin of the watch itself. All right, let's look at the leather from a bit of distance. Just like the rubber, it makes this watch and the dial pop, and more of a kind of a casual look. Here we are a little bit closer. It's so beautiful. I have totally smitten with this watch. I do love the white Speedmaster because this thing looks, it's just gorgeous. It really is. I would almost say that this is the best looking version, whether it's the bracelet, the mesh, the NATO, or the rubber. However, having said that, like if I bought this on the bracelet, which I actually did, and if I were only gonna get one strap, you know, whether it's the leather or the rubber, if I were gonna get the Omega one, I would actually I would recommend getting the Omega rubber, because there are, of course, other leather straps that you can get that aren't near as expensive and would look, you know, basically identical to this. But this is a pricey option, and I kind of went overboard, but I just am really kind of goofy when it comes. I want everything to be Omega, including those Omega NATO straps that are like 190 bucks each. But I'm not disappointed at all. I love this thing. Well, I hope you guys really enjoyed the different straps on this Omega White Speedy. She is a killer watch. I hope, like anything, if you guys are interested, you get it. I love it. I absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. But I hope you guys are all doing really, really well. Hope you're having an awesome watch journey, and I'll see you on my next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.